Hello everybody, how y'all doing? Hope everybody's having a great Sunday. Today we're going to be going over the basics of classes, the very basics of classes, and hopefully later today we'll go into the more advanced topics of classes. Classes on the basics level is just a schematics that you're making of something that you want to make over and over and over again. So something that you want to make multiple times. So let's say you work for a university and you want to make a list of students with their names and their age. And so what you'll do is you'll do std string, and then you'll do, student one name equals their name. Let's say John. And then under it, you'll do int student, student one age equals their age. And then you'll do this over and over and over again. Forgot my semicolons. So you'll do this over and over and over again, right? And then you'll change the name, you'll change this to 2, you'll change this to 2, and you'll so on. But there's an easier way to do this, which is classes. It's, like I said, it's a skeleton of something that you want to make over and over and over again. How do you do this? So you see here, classes, you make a class student or a struct student. I'll explain more between the difference. And then you'll tell it there's this class has, or this schematics should have a name and an age. And you can also make functions within this class, just like regular functions that do something within the class. So after you've done this, you would run a certain command, which we'll go also into in a bit, is to make instances of this. You see, I copy it, put it here, and I'll be like, okay, this is the instance, it's John, and his age is 15. And you'll see right here, this is our first instance. Now I want to make a second instance. I just copy it, put it here, and then I'll just say this is Mike, and his age is 21. And same thing. And this, what this will do is it will carry everything with it, all the setters and functions that you made for this class. And you can set the variables. Functions for class are called methods, and the variables, these are variables of the class, and these are called instances of your object. So this is my skeleton, it's called an object, and these are instances of that object. Now, how do we actually code this? Here, simple on the side, I do have a makefile just to make my life easier and compile everything. I have a class h, I have a class.cpp, and I have a main.cpp. All right. In my main is where I'm gonna do just the simple stuff. In my class.cpp is where I will create all the functions, and in my class.h is where I will initiate those functions or classes. So to start, when we were talking about earlier classes and structures, a class, you just do class student, which is the name of the object or the class. And for classes in specific, you, at the end of the curly brackets, you put a semicolon. And that's the same thing with structures. So struct student, and then you see you put a semicolon down here. Now, what's the difference between these two? So you know how before here I was saying it has a name and an age? These variables in a class are private. What does private mean? Private means as soon as you leave these two brackets, you can't access these anymore. These are only accessible inside the class. And for structures, by default, these are actually public, which you can access them outside the class. And so here I'll show you guys an example. Let's go to my main, and then I have, okay, I've included my header file. So in my header, I'm going to initiate a variable in the class, and let's make these two different things. So this will be student one, or actually, what's a better name for this? Let's just have two different things. One is student, one is person. So here, I'm going to initiate a variable for the class, and this variable is going to be a name. I'm just going to initiate it. And actually, here, let's not just initiate it. Let's also give it a value. This is John. And this person right here, what is going on? std string semicolon. There you go. And here, I'll have my string name, and this is Mike. All right, and this is set by default. You can just initialize it like this, and this will not be set, and you will set it when you create the class. But right now, we're just looking at an example. So you see, in my main, I do have access to my header file, so I can technically access these. So what I can do is initiate a class. The way you initiate or create this instance, what you'll do is the type of instance. So let's say, when you make a variable, you'll do int a. This is the type of variable. Right now, you have to tell it what type of variable we're making. We're making a student variable, right? A student variable. And this will be, we'll name it student1, right? We're just going to initialize it. The second thing we're going to initialize is person. So we're going to have a person type variable, and this is going to be person1, right? Now, this is my instance. This is just the type of instance it is. This is the instance. So you see right here, the person right here, that would be your object. And my person1, this would be the instance I just created from that object. All right. Now let's say I want to access the instances variables like the name. What I'll do is person1. I'll say person1 dot name. Right. And you see right now it's not underlined or anything. It works fine. So here I'll just actually print it out so we can see it. So person1 dot name. There you go. And you see now I'm just gonna make compile and then make run. And you see it says Mike. Now let's say I want to do the same thing for student. Student1 dot name. You see right away it underlines and says this is inaccessible. And even when I compile it, you see it gives me issues. It says this is declared private. You cannot see this, or you cannot access this, or you can't change it. But in a structure, so you see if I do person1 dot name, and I could do equals Lexi, let's say. I don't even know where I got that name from, but so you see right now when I access this, I can actually I've changed it. You see when I do make compile and I do make run, I've actually changed it. That's the only difference between your structure and your class. It's the default setting. The default setting for class is this is private. Default setting for structure, this is public. Now you could always do this. And now I've set this to private. So now you see when I try to access it, it literally says right away. And I can make this also public. And now I can access these outside. So you see when I do student1, it works fine. Right? Now let's continue making our structure. So because we are in our .h, all you do here is initialize the layout, and then here's where we create the layout. So in here, let's initialize. I'm gonna make them private, so I'm gonna use a class. It's the most used one. Structures are not as used, I'd say. So this is gonna be, like I said, it's by default private, but I am gonna say private just for easeability of reading. Let's remove this. We're only doing student now, and I'm not gonna give it a name, right? Because you want to make copies of this. Why would I hard set it to a certain name? Right? It doesn't make sense. It's like going here and I'm going to hard set my object to John, and then when you make a copy, it's going to be John. But you're making like multiple copies with different names. So I'm not going to set. And then here I'll do int age, also private, and I'm not going to set it anything. Right? So you see right now this is inaccessible because it's private. And the question is, well, how am I going to set these? Right? You're going to think like, okay, so I've created right here, I've created a student. How am I going to set these variables? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do public. And I'm going to make right now methods or functions. For classes, it's called methods. And since I'm in my class age, I'm only going to initialize them. So to set age, remember how I said if we're within our brackets, I can access age and change it. So what I'll do is void, because I'm not returning anything. And I'll do set age. And this set age will take an age. So int age. Right? And now since I'm within my brackets, I can access this. So what I'll do is this age, right, equals age. And you guys are wondering, what is this? This refers, so you see how I have an age here, I have an age here, and they look the same? The compiler is going to be like, I don't know the difference. Which one is which? So what you do is, when you say this, you tell the compiler, I am referring to the class's variable and not the parameter. When you say this, you're talking about this. That's how you explain it, literally, this. Like this class's variable. And now what it's going to do is I can, since this is within the public, this function, I can call this function, give it an age. This age will go here and it will get set. So see right now, what I'll do is student1 dot set age, and then I'm going to give it an age 19. And that will set it. And here I'll need another setter for my name. And so my name void set name, and this will take an string name, and I'll do this name equals name. Now you could not use this, so what I could do is I could not use this, but I'll have to change this to a different variable. So I just added an s. Now the compiler won't get confused because they're two different variables. But it's good practice to use the this function, is just so in other something like you get a good comprehension of how to use it, so that later on in some complex code you'll actually need it. Like you won't have a choice but to use it. So right now we can set the age as well. So you see student one dot age, or sorry, dot name equals, and then I'm gonna give it a name. But like we said, we can't set it like this. So you do set name, you call the function, and you give it a string, and this is gonna be John. Oops, let me put my semicolon. There you go. So you see now I have set them, but how do I get it? Remember how we said these are private? So I can't do student1.name because these are private. So what you'll do is getters, something within the public that will get this. And you're gonna like, why are we doing all this? What is this for? We'll get to it in like a minute. So this getter will return me a string, right? So std string, the function that returns. So get name, and it doesn't take any parameter, and this just returns my name. There you go. And this, the reason this has access, like we said, because this is within the brackets of the class, and the function itself is within the public, so I can access it outside. See, student1 dot get name, and doesn't take any parameters. This will return me name. You see right now when I print this out, there you go. Let's make compile. What do we got? So we forgot a semicolon somewhere. std and l. Oh, oops, right there. Make compile. What is it? std. Oh, oops. There you go. Compile it. Make run. And you see now I have set it to John, and I've set the age to 19. Now to get to why are we doing this? Why don't we just make this public? You know how we said if you're a university student, you can't really be below, I believe, 17 or 18. So how can somebody just set this? At least right now when I go 16 and I set this and I access it, so I'll keep this here, and it will do age just for cleaner code, and here we'll say get age. We didn't write the get age method yet, so let's write it down real quick. This will return an integer type, and it will get us the age. Doesn't take parameter because this is a getter, it just returns. And so right here we'll just return age. And here, you know, you could use this for clear readability, so that if somebody looks at your code and knows you're referring to the class's variable. And you see now when I compile this, oops, compile all, and then make run, now I got the age 16, but a university student can be 16. So let's restrict this. You see right now, here they pass an age. So I could do if age less than 17, I believe is the age for university students. Then I can do print or std out invalid age. And I could do, you know, too young to be in uni. This is maybe a too long of a sentence, but right now what I'm saying is, let me zoom out a little bit. I'm just saying if the age is 17, say this, and return. This right now it returns age, so I'm just gonna not return anything actually. I'm just gonna exit. So return, and this is a void, so I can just say return. I'm not returning anything, and this will exit and not set my age. Right. So right now when I'm setting this to 16, you see right here, this should print me what I need it to print. And then make run. You see, it says invalid age, but it set it anyway. So why is it setting it anyway? Here we're still running this, so I could do here and else, And here we'll do, oh, this is the bracket for my statement. So there you go. So I'm saying else, if the age is less than 17, do this. Else, set my age to the age that I'm giving you. You see right now, when I compile this and I make run, how come this is, oh, and I forgot, we've made all of this within our H file. I'll switch it to your CPP in a bit. I'll show you how to do that. It is running that, but it's not giving me, why is it setting it? Let's see. Student 1, and then we're giving it the aim, we're giving it set age. That age doesn't return anything, it just prints and it exits. So maybe actually let's return nothing here and end it, see if that works. There you go. So now the age is set to 0, but I want it, you could also make it ask for an age again. So I could also say here, you know, std send, and then I could tell it age, and then have this run through. This is more logic. I don't think I'm gonna actually go through this, but I think you understand now the point of classes. The other thing you can do, so when you implement your header inside your class CPP, you wouldn't have any of this logic, right? So in here, we only define what it is. So our set name, how do you define your set name inside your class.cpp? So what we'll do is you tell it what it returns. So you go here, what does this return? Void? We'll say void. And then you tell it what class you're talking about. So we're talking about the student class. And then you tell it what function you want to make for that class. We want to make the set name. So we do this, and then set name. And then this is basically the same. So I'll tell it, you know, it's going to take a string. And that string is going to be name. And right here, I'll just return that. And this is basically, you are setting it in your CPP. And then you do the same thing for this logic right here. So I see this only initiates, and here is where you would do this. So this is void, it's a student. We are setting the age, or this is get age, so it would be set age. And to set an age, we take an int age, and you are gonna, oh, there you go. That's our logic. And that's how you create cleaner code for your reader. Same thing with our get. So do this, and right here, our get returns an, which one are we doing here? This is a name, so it returns a string, and it's a student, and it's a get name, and doesn't take any parameters, and this is its logic. And pay attention to this one thing. If I change this, so you see right here, I don't even gotta put age, as long as I tell it it's an integer. Right here, this still works fine. I could even make this any variable you want, right? It doesn't have to be the same as a variable, as long as it's the same type it's returning. And even here, we don't need name. We just gotta tell it it's a string, right? Now let's do the logic for our get age. And here we'll also do age returns an int. It's a student class, and it's a get age. It doesn't take any parameters, and this is our logic. Right? The name of the function does have to be the same. Capitalization does matter. Obviously the name of the student, the name of the class has to be the same, and the name it's returning. See, if I change this to a character, the issue is going to tell me declaration is incompatible with my int student age. So you see, it literally tells you this is not the same as this, and so you have to have it the same type. And I think that's pretty much classes. We will get in a more advanced in the next episode. So I'll see you guys in a bit.